Welcome to the Dynasty Playbook. You might get help with making your trade better. You might get help with a cavity, whatever. We're here to help. I'm your host, Drew. You can find me on Twitter at DrewDotsonNFL. With me is my co-host, Tyler. You can find him at HBombIDP. Not every intro is going to be successful. That one was maybe a miss. Maybe I'll try again with something better next week. But at least we're back with, our audio will be better. I think our audio got messed up as payback for bringing a heretic on the show. Coming on here, I've never had a cinnamon roll.
Cake is too sweet. And then he regretted that he didn't use the word decadent. Get the fuck out. Oh, decadent? I already did it. But I mean, the Dynasty Playbook, we are here to facilitate your degenerative tendencies. It's what we do. It's who we are.
We have diabetes. This is AA for people with diabetes. That's what this is. All right. I guess we'll just jump right into the show, and we'll start with our college player discussion for the week. And we're doing Alex Collins, running back out of Arkansas. Dude's 5'11", 215, so pretty built. He's going to be 22 in August, and he's a true junior, if I'm not mistaken. I like him. I like him a lot. I told Tyler before the show started, if I was confident in his ability to catch the ball, he'd be my number 2 in this class. Everything about his running ability just excites me. And I think part of the reason is the guy I'm reminded of when I watch him, and Tyler brought the same name up to me before I said it, was Isaiah Crowell. And I'm known as maybe a fanatic. I don't know what the right word is, but I'm overly attached to Isaiah Crowell, and he reminds me a lot of him and how he runs. It's very violent. There's a lot of speed and power in his movements. There's a lot of finesse to the game as well. He gets skinny through the hole. I mean, he's deceptively quick. He even off of a complete stop, he'll still shoot right off. And he's got a really good top speed. You don't see it a ton. A lot of his runs go for 10, 15 yards. But once in a while, you see him break through the second line and just tear it up. He's taking off and torching DBs, which not a lot of running backs are doing. But he was it's extremely impressive to me. The biggest hole in his game is I've watched him catch all of 2 balls. Granted, he caught both of them with his hands, did a nice job, but I can't knock Melvin Gordon for it last year and then say, oh, it's probably okay this year. Like Gordon, I'm going to wait for the combine. I'm going to wait to see the receiving drill, see how he does, but I'm still hesitant. He's had less than 30 career receptions up to this point through 3 seasons. And it's not like he was used sparingly at Arkansas. He was on the field all the time, all 3 of his years there. And, it's not like they weren't producing on offense when he was out there. So the fact that he was not using the passing game at all was kind of troubling. And if he's just a 2-down back, he's still going to be in my top 5 or 6 running backs. But my ceiling on him is capped. It kind of limits just how excited I am about him. But a quick little side note, I don't know if you noticed, but Henry kept just popping off the screen I'm trying to watch a Collins play, and Henry's out there just tearing it up. He's good.
Yeah.
I know you don't like tight ends, but he's good.
Yeah, he's good, and it's pretty much him, right? That's like
I don't even know who the number 2 is.
Class. I don't even know what's going on there. Arkansas, they were maulers. I like the way they play football first and foremost. They line up and they try to, smash it down your throat.
Oh, their O-line is a bunch of big fat fatties.
Oh, they're monsters, dude. But Collins back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons in the SEC, in the SEC West. That's pretty impressive in and of itself. 5'11", 215, a great frame. Drew used the word violent, which I love because that's what I think. I mean, this dude is physical. He's powerful. He's nasty, which is fantastic. 27 career catches, though, man. It's hard for me to get beyond that because the landscape in which we play, being able to catch the balls is not everything, but it's really, really important because that's what racks up points. Just a nice player. He gets a little bit choppy with his feet. Waits in the hole a little bit too long sometimes, but even when he's chopping his feet, it's not necessarily lateral. He's moving up the field, picking up, little chunks of yardage there. So he's a really, really nice player. I can't even tell you where I'm slotting him in right now. I have no idea, but I definitely like the tape on him, and I like watching Arkansas play.
I don't like Arkansas, but
of course you don't. That's different.
That's for non-scouting reasons, I guess. It's more for, they demasculated Leonard Fournette, and, well, we were already fairly demasculated by the time we got there, but they just rubbed it into the dirt.
Just finished it off. The golden boot.
The second half of this season was such a heartbreaker.
Well, then you got to play the worst run defense in the history of football in Texas Tech, and not just the history of like college football or Division I. The history of football, every level, YMCA, flag football, Pee Wee, doesn't matter. Worst run defense ever.
Yeah, you go to your cousin's flag football game next week. They'd stop Collins better than Texas Tech did.
Right.
But also in the back of my head, I'm imagining Collins just stomping on a bunch of 7-year-olds. I don't know if that's where that was supposed to go, but that's where it went.
Hey, the mind will do what it will do.
That's not an excuse that normally holds up in court. But overall, I mean, I like Collins. But Tyler said receptions are king. It's the safety net for running backs. It's not, you don't have to have it to be fantasy relevant, but it's what makes you safe to own as a fantasy asset. If you start losing carries on first and second down and you don't have third down, the bottom falls out. You're useless from there. Look at like Trey Mason. Trey Mason didn't get a lot of run on third down. They bring in Gurley. Granted, it's kind of a big example. Gurley coming in is going to steal carries from anybody, but Mason didn't have anything to offer on first and second down that Gurley didn't, and he couldn't even compare with Gurley on third down. So Mason just got pushed out altogether, and that's kind of something that could happen with Collins. Collins could end up in a situation where he has a really good rookie year, and he kind of has that Trey Mason vibe where, this could be something real. And then, that team drafts Leonard Fournette, Nick Chubb, Cook, whatever, and it all goes to shit. So he's a guy that, unless I see just amazing things from him at the combine in terms of the receiving drills, I'm going to be hesitant taking him probably earlier than 110, probably later than that. Probably early second, mid-second is where I'm going to end up with him, which is probably, I'll probably be able to get him there. A lot of guys don't seem to be on Collins, which I'm fine with. I'll grab him. I'll like him.
I don't know. A lot of the guys have him ranked pretty highly. I think the DLF guys, he's their consensus 3 right now, behind Zeke and Henry.
Huh.
I think that's correct. Don't quote me on that. I think that's correct. But the difference is a guy that can't catch the ball, it's going to be tough for them to be, or I say can't catch the ball, that isn't going to be the third down receiving back. It's going to be tough. Whereas a guy who can only catch the ball as a third down receiving back, boom, starter every week.
Theo Riddick.
Danny Woodhead. Yeah, Theo Riddick, Danny Woodhead. Hell, Benny frickin' Cunningham had some value. The list goes on. Chris Thompson. There are guys out there that all they do is catch the ball and they could start for your teams. Where if you got a guy who's a thumper, going to play first and second down and not even play every series at that, they're going to have to fall into the end zone to get you points, and that's dangerous.
Yeah, I hate that. I don't know that I'd put Danny Woodhead in the same category as the rest of them because Danny Woodhead can still run with the best of them.
I love Danny
He
Woodhead.
gets no credit for being an actual running back, not just a receiving.
Is he not one of the funnest players in the whole league, though? So much fun. And free fantasy points every year. He's free.
He's fun for fantasy. I don't know that he's the most entertaining or anything.
He's fun to watch.
He's good. I like him.
I like the little scat backs, man. And that's probably more related to because I want my fantasy teams to win, but whatever.
I had this thought earlier. We talk incessantly about candy on the show, but yet we've never sat down and ate candy while we record the show. So I cracked open a bag of the Sour Patch watermelons, which if you're eating Sour Patch and not eating the watermelons, or you've never had the watermelons, get up, pause the show. We'll be here when you get back. Go get some. Enjoy it while you listen. It's worth it.
It's like getting nothing but cherry Starburst. You know what I mean? Like, I got nothing against the other Starburst. I got nothing against the other Sour Patch Kids. But I'm going to take the bag of watermelon only every time. Every time.
Strawberry or cherry is what you meant.
The Starburst, what I mean.
Oh.
I'd say, I feel like Starburst is a more well-known candy. And we need to broaden our audience a little bit and draw a proper correlation here. And cherry Starburst are king. And if you could get a pack of just cherry Starburst, you're on it.
I'm taking strawberry over cherry.
Bold.
They're
both very good.
Really, give me the reds over any of the other ones. I don't care.
Reds. That's a fair take.
Like, oh, let me get an orange. Go away. We can't be friends.
Why do they
like
even make
shitty candy? I can't trust your opinion on anything.
Why do they even make them? Nobody wants them.
It's like Pat. Pat likes coffee. I no longer trust his opinion on anything.
Pat's dangerous. He's a shifty little dude, man.
I don't know if that's a politically correct term for anybody, but
a shifty little dude.
I don't know.
I don't. What's correct anymore? I don't know.
All right, let's get back on track. Let's talk about our IDP spotlight for the week, and we're going to do a guy who's probably been covered fairly recently. I feel like he just played a big game. He might have been in, but that's Von Miller, who everybody knows who Von Miller is. If they don't play IDP, they still know who he is. And there's a lot of people that play IDP based on name value. If you know who Von Miller is, your assumption is, oh, he's good at football. He must be a good IDP own. And even in the best, most even defense to offense scoring, Von Miller is not, this top tier linebacker. He's not a linebacker one even. Tyler pulled up the stats for me earlier. He had 10 sacks, less than 40 overall tackles, right about 40 overall tackles. Even in sack heavy scoring, that's like a crap and a half. You have to be getting, 14, 15, 16 sacks to make up for such a shitty tackle floor. And it's not like Von Miller's tackles are not going to go up anytime soon. Even if, Trevathan or Marshall leaves when their rookie contract is up, it's still, there's a lot of mouths to feed in Denver, and Miller's not going anywhere. I mean, I don't realistically think he is, and I'm sure Tyler doesn't either. It would take some nonsense for Miller to go elsewhere, I think.
Yeah, they're going to open up the pocketbook. I mean, he's got to be one of the top 5 players in the league right now, especially what he just did in the playoffs. Dude, he was an animal.
Oh,
absolutely dominant.
He wrecked house.
Yeah, but I mean, and we say Von Miller, but it's not just Von Miller. It's Justin Houston. It's Melvin Ingram. It's even guys like Pernell McPhee, Ryan Kerrigan. It's all kind of the same. Because there's so many linebackers out there that play the inside backers or the will that they're just going to get tackles. They're just going to fall into tackles and get anywhere from 75 to 120 tackles a season. And that's automatically going to be more consistent points and more often than not going to be more points. So you just have to be very, very aware of what they're going to bring on a weekly basis. Yeah, you might get these huge blow up games where they get 3 sacks and a forced fumble, and it's going to be a monster game. That game could be worth 50 points depending on your scoring. But then the next week they're going to hang a deuce, and the floor is just not there with them. So you want to be really, really careful. You got to know your scoring. If you're in extremely tackle heavy leagues, fade them completely, like completely. If you're not getting at least 7-8 points for a sack, a combined point scoring for a sack with the TFL and the tackle, it's not worth even messing with them. And if you're starting any less than 4 linebackers, you don't want to mess with them. If you're only starting 3 linebackers, even in a 14 or 16 team league, you don't want to mess with them because it's just not going to be there. So for me, guys like that, I have a tough time ranking them anywhere. Even Justin Houston last year, coming off a 20 sack season, was in my LB 20s. And he's a better IDP play than Vaughn because he makes more tackles. So, yeah, for me, you got to be very cognizant of what's going on with your scoring in your league settings. But in general, if there's a better tackle floor guy around or you're thinking about taking the rush backer, take the tackle guy.
See, Tyler definitely takes the opinion on the edge rusher type a little bit farther than I do. I'm still okay with taking Von Miller. In generally sack heavy scoring, I'm still okay with Justin Houston, but it's because I like points, and Tyler doesn't like points. We've talked about this, but it's like Tyler said, be aware of what your league settings are, because I joke that still give me these guys. I don't care what their variance is. But if the variance is 0 to still an almost shitty week, fuck it. Throw them out the window. But if in sack heavy leagues, if they're, a good week for them or an average week for them is, an LB, a low end LB3, sure. Still keep them. Still keep them on your board. You have to look at more than just what their overall scoring is, what their points per game scoring is. You need to look at it week to week and see, what keeps them relevant any particular week.
Yeah, a lot of it's like playing that touchdown dependent guy. If he doesn't catch a touchdown, he didn't score you any points. It's the same with these edge rushers in a lot of setups, where if they don't get a sack or a forced fumble or a splash play, they had a stinker. But he says the scoring range, if you're looking at a guy who can get 2 sacks and 3 or 4 tackles, and that's only worth 18 points to you, the guy's not even worth rostering. Now, if he gets that game and it's worth 40 points to you, all right, you're going to want to get him on your roster and get him in your lineup. And I'll play rush backers depending on the scoring. If I'm starting 4, I started Melvin Ingram in a league every week this year that I won. I won the league because the scoring allowed for it, and I'm starting 4 backers every week, and it's a deep league. So, yeah, I have no thoughts. Kind of want some Sour Patch Kids now. Watching you, I'm getting a little jelly.
You should totally be jelly. We'll send you to the jelly school.
I got a big old bag of peanut M&Ms downstairs.
Ugh.
Get the fuck out of here.
Why get peanut M&Ms when you can get peanut butter M&Ms? They
didn't have them in the king size, though.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, the fact that you're even buying them in the king size shows a lack of planning. You go to Walmart, you get
the pounder,
the sack of M&Ms.
The pounder, the thing is like an anvil when you pick it up.
My little sister got me one of those of Skittles, and that bitch lasted like 5 days.
Except there's nothing but greens left at the bottom because they're trash.
Oh, I was so upset. I had stayed away from them because of what you said about the whole green apple kills it. They're still completely eatable. It's because they're always edible, but eatable means they taste good enough for me to want to put them in my face.
I like that. There's a clear distinction there. I love it.
But it definitely brought them down a tier. But I would just sift through the green ones, eat the whole handful and then just knock back some green ones because the green ones are still fine. They're just it messes with the flavor balance.
Does not play well with others. Right.
So are we the green apple Skittles?
I don't know, man.
Oh.
Wow.
This just got way too real.
Philosophy.
This conversation is way too meta right now.
Deep thoughts with the Dynasty Playbook.
All right, if we're going to talk, get deep, we might as well go to people's questions and be deep. Our next one comes from at SPG1780 or the Crab Man, Crab Person, Crab People. I don't know what the correct term is. You'll have to let me know. Why is it so difficult to find a buyer for Gronk? And Tyler, this question has your name written all over it, tight end hater.
Well, it's this thing where he's a tight end, right? Here's the deal with Gronk, all right? If you want to cash out for proper value for Gronk, you're going to have to find somebody with big-time wide-out assets. It just has to be wide receivers or high-leverage rookie picks. Where else are you going to go unless it's Todd Gurley or Le'Veon Bell? That's about it. So you're typically going to be running into owners with different philosophies than what you have. Like me, I don't own Gronk on any dynasty teams any longer because he got too expensive. Because when I'm sitting there going, well, I could have Nuke Hopkins or Gronk, I'm going to take the wideout. If I could have, who are we talking about this in startups last year? Dez or Gronk. Give me Dez. Give me whoever over Gronk. So I'm never really going to be in the market to pay up for him. If you want to sell him, you got to find a team that is absolutely freaking loaded and just needs to solidify their starting lineup.
Yeah, but you can say that about any of the older wide receivers right now. Dez, AJ, Julio, Antonio. Because it has nothing to do with the fact that he's a tight end. It has to do with the fact that he's outside of that super young age group. But he's not quite ancient yet, so people aren't throwing him to the curb. And he's still an elite producer, so he deserves to be up there. But it narrows down the scope of the teams that will take him because he's not super young, and the teams that aren't competitive aren't going to want him. So
that's fair.
It has nothing to do with him being a tight end.
Sure, it does.
No, it doesn't. Because
you're starting one freaking tight end every week. One.
Right. So why not start the one that gets points every freaking week?
Barnage every week.
Oh, yeah, let's take the one example that worked. Why don't we start Jason Morrow?
I could start Delaney Walker. I could start Jordan Reed. Jordan Reed was fucking free. I got him off the trash heap last year in startups.
Yeah, and what if you chose Kobe Fleener instead? Tell me how well your tight end went if you had him.
It goes both ways, but come on. You're starting one tight end. Uno.
Yeah, so why not get the guy that's guaranteed points? It's wide receiver 1 points, and then put a guy in your wide receiver position that's going to be way more reliable, that you can trust way more than some fucking janky-ass middle of the second tight end, whatever.
Tyler Eifert, a guy like Tyler Eifert.
I will cut you.
I guarantee you I could get more out of trade for Julio than I could for Gronk right now. Guarantee I get more for AB. Dez, you're not getting anything for Dez because all of a sudden Dez Bryant is hot garbage anyway, and nobody wants him because he's terrible because he played on a broken goddamn foot with no quarterback. But that's a completely different discussion. I'm just saying, in leagues where we're starting 3 to 5 wide receivers and I only got to start one tight end, piss on it. First round Gronk, no thank you. Gronk at his ADP, no thank you. Gronk at his trade market value, I don't want any part of it. And I am not alone in this. There are enough people in every league that are just like, nope, not for me.
It's all right. And then there are people that have Gronk that are winning championships. It's okay to be those people.
I have 2 teams I traded off Gronk last year. One won the league. One was the 1 seed, but I got screwed in the playoffs. But whatever.
It's all right.
My playoff heartbreak story. Let's see my violin.
My 2 main teams with Gronk was the team that won the championship by a mile and a half, and then the other team where I just barely lost to the championship team. Yeah. I feel like I know that guy who has the championship team in that league.
Yeah, he's okay. He's an all right guy.
I didn't say he was okay. I just said I know him. I think he's kind of a butthole. which is crazy because you would think he'd live by his own rule, but no, he's totally a butthole.
No, yeah, I am. Not a hashtag good peoples. But yeah, I mean, Gronk's polarizing as all hell, man. He really is. But he's a league winner. He'll win you leagues. But trading him, I just don't see very many big Gronk trades going down. Do you?
No, but I'm not seeing a whole lot of the blockbuster trades for any of those first-round startup.
Yeah. We're in such
guys.
a weird state right now because we were talking about this earlier. Before, 3-4 years ago? 2 years ago, it was Dez and AJ and Julio and
they were the young guys.
Right, and DT. And then it was a bunch of schmucks. And then, the 14 class comes in. And these guys are killers. And then the 15 class comes in, and it's pretty good. And there are a lot of guys going really high out of the 15 class, even though we're doing a lot of projecting there. But there's nothing in the middle. You know what I mean? It's that tier, and it's the super young guys, and then it's Golden Tate and Emmanuel Sanders and guys like that in the middle. So it's just kind of a weird – I think this year's startups are going to be really interesting.
They're going to be weird because people did something really weird in that 14 startup where they completely negated youth after the draft, but before the draft, which coincidentally is before they said anything about Gordon was in that top 5 or 6 startup conversation because they were dying for this elite young talent to get in there, and he was what was there. And then everybody else ignored any other potential. It's like they wanted to have youth as a proven commodity already. And then after 2014, when everybody did good, people overcompensated. And it remains to be seen whether it was truly overcompensating or if it's just going to take a little bit longer to develop. But this 16 class, I think, is going to, for all the teams that continue to go completely rookie heavy, I think they're going to see less results than they did even in the 15 class. And I might be completely wrong because, Ryan McDowell's done studies where it shows that 95% of the rookies gain value. But I'm not that excited about as many of the rookies in this class. And it's not to say that I don't like them because this class is not shitty. This class is not shallow. I am not as excited about as many players in this class as I have been about previous classes. There are plenty of guys I like. Plenty of guys I like all the way down to the 4th round. But they're not guys that I love or just like a lot like I have in the past. And I think that I just kind of rambled a decent bit. But
it's fine, but you don't have to be as hardcore attacking the youth that hasn't produced yet because Brandon Cooks is 22 years old and Mike Evans is 22 years old, and all these guys are young. They're already young. So if you want to go balls to the wall UTH, you could still do it with proven veterans. These guys are veterans now. They're going to be in their 3rd year. Devontae Parker's flashed enough that he's going to be a solid pick. DGB is a solid pick. Diggs is a solid pick. So you can go off the rails for youth and still get guys that have been in the league for a couple of years and then spread your risk amongst the rookies in rounds 6, 7, 8. Anyway, yeah, so we fairly beat that one to death.
I don't feel like we beat it to death. I feel like we beat it to death, left it in the woods, and then we found something else to beat to death.
Gronk's such a dead horse, dude. Such a dead horse. Anyway, next question from S. Woodman88 over at Reddit. Seth. All right, let's talk about David Johnson. Doesn't it seem ludicrous that you can get top 20 startup value from him? He says, maybe I'm crazy, but I could list off 20 players I'd want ahead of Johnson. Yes, it's ludicrous. Absolutely. It's bonkers. First off, he's a running back. Second off, he's 25 years old. I love David Johnson. But I really love David Johnson as a mid-second round rookie pick or a 7th round startup pick or a 10th round startup pick or wherever the heck we were getting them in startup picks. That's what I like. The fact that he's returning this insane value. I've seen him go in first round of actual startups, not mocks. It's bonkers. And maybe he is the RB3. Maybe he is the RB4. I don't even care where he's ranked in relation to the other running backs. I care where he's ranked in relation to Keenan Allen, Alshon Jeffrey, Sammy Watkins, those guys. So could I pick 20 players before David Johnson? Oh, yeah. Real easy. I can go deeper than that. And I love David Johnson. But I will be acquiring no new shares.
I feel like there's been a bit of revisionist history in terms of how we valued David Johnson and where other guys that were high on David Johnson valued him. A lot of people make it sound like we were taking him in the middle of the second. We were capturing this value. I think I probably took him as a first-round pick more than I did as a second-round pick. I mean, this was not completely unexpected. The talent's been there. People were investing in him last year before he did anything, and he showed more than people expected him to in his first year. He's probably the RB3. If not, he's really close to being the RB3. That being said, I'd probably want 20 wide receivers before him. Well, 17 wide receivers, a tight end, and 2 running backs before him. Screw quarterbacks.
Or more.
Or more, exactly. I mean, to me, it's not ludicrous. It's fairly close. It's probably between 20 and 30. He's still probably, late 4th round start or early 4th round startup pick to me, which that's 30s, probably maybe before then. But just the guys taking him in the first round of startups are out of their minds. That's irresponsible. That's what that is.
That's why we can't have nice things.
There's a lot of reasons we can't have nice things, and most of them are our fault.
Yeah, it's just this is not a David Johnson hate fest. You're looking for 2 guys to hate David Johnson. It's not here.
This is
dynasty value is insane.
We're all about being realistic, I think is best way to describe it.
Like you said, take him in the first round. Even if we're taking him at 108, that is miles and miles and miles away from a top 20 startup pick.
Yup.
We're talking 60, 70 draft spots away. That's craziness.
A top 20 draft pick is pretty much Zeke. And if you're taking David Johnson over Zeke,
you're done.
I want whatever you're smoking.
Yeah, you're done.
It's probably better than whatever Tyler's smoking.
It's very rarely better than what I'm smoking.
Y'all are setting the bar high.
Oh man, it's a shame. I do love the guy. I'd love to trade him right now. Not that I don't want him on my teams, but ride this wave. If I get a massive return for him, I'm out, man.
You see, and that's the problem. There's so many people ranking him here. There's a few players like that right now where everyone is ranking him fairly high and no one's trading him. No one's paying that for him. Which, I mean, I understand because I'm the same way. There's players where I would pay a certain amount, but I would sell. It would take way more for me to sell them. And it's not like there's a little gap in between. There's a fairly big gap. And David Johnson is one of those for me. I'm not going to pay what people think he's worth, but I'm not going to sell him for what I would be willing to pay for him. And I mean, it's probably hypocritical. It's irrational, but there's just some guys where that just feels like the right move. I mean, plain and simple. If I get what people are valuing him at, I'd be all about it. But I can't
sell anybody for that price. I mean, I find that's true for almost every player I own. I would pay. I hate saying own. Every player that I have on a roster, I would pay less. I wouldn't sell them for what I would pay. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's understanding the market. I mean, there's some players I'll pay full up for, and a lot of that depends on my team. But
yeah, you like paying up for players, huh?
Thou shalt not pay up. God, I've won some titles. I've won some money. I've had some good success, but damn it, paying up, it's just whew. Being on the opposite side of that, where you give 3 for 1, it just tends to blow up in my face more often than not.
I just had an awesome idea for a league trophy, and maybe it's for the champion, or maybe it's for the toilet bowl. But get like a rock or whatever tablet, and each winner gets to carve a new commandment in when they win a year.
I love it.
Thou shalt not pay up. Thou shalt wait on running back.
But thou shalt not completely ignore running back and end up with Monty Ball inexplicably in a starting lineup. I started Rod Smith and Monty Ball in a league this year 1 week. That's all I had. I had Rod Smith, I had Monty Ball, and Carlos Williams was injured.
Oh, man.
I remember Dylan like, I like your RB2, and I'm like, thanks, dude. I nailed it. Extreme, right? If you're gonna do it, go all in. Jeez, Louise.
All right, let's go ahead and hit username 02's question. Should I just end the hype now and take Josh Gordon in the first of mocks and startups? I mean, you can. I liked Gordon as a talent. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I liked his talent. But there's just way too much risk involved. If I can get any 17 first for Gordon, taking it. Some people are going to think I'm nuts. And I know Tyler agrees with me because he did it. Any 17 first is worth what I can get for Gordon. Give me 108 or higher this year. I'm trading Gordon. I mean, if I can get even close to decent value or a sizable asset for him, I'm going to do it. I'm not waiting for his value to peak before I ship him off, because you're waiting too long. Every day you wait is, another chance for him to just his appeal to get rejected, or for him to be invited back in and then get suspended 2 weeks later, because it's bound to happen. Show me a player who's gotten this far into the system and been successful and has managed to completely stay out of trouble. I mean, look at Ricky. If you want to talk about Josh Gordon level talent, Ricky blows Gordon out of the water, and Gordon's fantastic, but he couldn't do it. He couldn't stay out of the substance abuse program. So if that's been their priority before, it's going to continue to be their priority. It's probably not going to change, so I'm not going to bet on them.
Boy, I took some heat this week for some Gordon takes, didn't I? Man, I got flame broiled. First off, to answer the question, yes, please do. Do as many mocks as you possibly can and take him as early as you possibly can. Let's get that ADP driven up through the roof so that A, I can get rid of my last share, or B, somebody pops off and drafts him ahead of me and leaves a better player on the board. I'm treating him just like a ticking time bomb. That's what I put something out this week. I remember about a year ago, Josh Gordon was a ticking time bomb, and you couldn't sell him for a hot mayonnaise sandwich. And that was true. And now he's still a ticking time bomb, but I can get filet mignon for him. I'm out. I'm done. I'm going to package him. I'm going to trade him for picks. I'm going to do whatever I can. If I can return, I don't want to say decent. If I can return good value on Josh Gordon, I'm doing it. I'm not acquiring him his ADP is like in the 3rd round right now. I mean, come on. I like it. He is so good. And the system is screwy. For what he got suspended for a couple of times, everything that comes out, come on, it's pretty messed up for what he got suspended for. But it doesn't matter if the system is flawed. It matters that he is literally one toe over the line from never playing another game again. It's that close. Bam. So there's just entirely too much risk hooked into this situation. And maybe if you have him, it turns out to be the biggest reward you've ever had. But me, as a guy who's held Gordon on a few rosters for a year, this is what I've been waiting for. I've been waiting. I've had him on the roster for 2 years. I've been staring at this guy sitting on my roster. Can't drop him, can't IR him, can't taxi him. He's just got to sit there and chew up a roster spot. And now I can cash out. I'm cashing out, man.
I don't think you're getting filet mignon for him. You might be getting like leftover microwave.
I'm getting a Philly cheesesteak.
All right.
I love Philly cheesesteak.
I mean, I'll take a Philly cheesesteak. Why not? I mean,
man, I'm all about risk. I am all about it, dude. You know, fly by the seat of my pants. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I have some terrible teams from having done that. But this is a different kind of risk for me. This is nuts. Any 17 first, yeah, absolutely. No doubt. If I could package him with another player to upgrade, big time upgrade, doing it. I am aggressively trying to unload him. So, all right. We did the Josh Gordon thing. We had to get into that this week. So our next question from Twitter @HamletD313. It's a trade question. Do I trade Antonio Brown for 3 first-rounders? The 3 first-round picks are an mid to early 17 first, a mid to late 17 first, and the 1.5 this year. For reference, he has as his wide receiver core Allen Robinson, AJ Green, T.Y. Hilton, Josh Gordon, and Stephon Diggs. Drew, fire away.
He sent this one to me on Twitter earlier today. And he probably just wanted a normal Twitter response, but I figured this would be a decent one to put on the show because I was kind of interested in getting your take on it. It feels light to me, but at the same time, I'm kind of really about taking these lottery picks in 17 right now, especially with the shot of it being early. Those first 4 or 5 picks are going to be worth, the 102, 103 from this year easily. So I'm going to lean on the side of it being a little light, but I don't know that you'd have to add a ton more onto it for me to want the picks.
I mean, 3 firsts is the general rule. I'm not moving AB for this package. The 1.5 this year, it's a nice pick, but it could just do nothing. When we're talking about a pick that's going to project mid to late, if you say mid to late, that's a good team. All right, and things happen. You'll be looking at the 112, easy. And then your wide receiver core is pretty good. I don't know what the team surrounding it is, but A-Rob, AJ Green, T.Y. Hilton, AB, man, dude, if I could throw that wide receiver core out there, I got to think I could patch the rest of my team together and have a really, really good team and a good chance at winning the league. And that's ultimately the goal. I mean, is to take it down. And AB still has many, many years left. With his game, the way he plays, AB is going to be relevant for a minute. So this one, it's light, and it's way light for me. I mean, we're talking Antonio Brown is cream of the crop, elite, guaranteed points. So this one, it's worth countering. It's worth seeing what else I can get. But, like I sold Nuke earlier this year for 5 firsts, basically, because I got 4 firsts in Amir Abdullah. I got 5, and that team sucked ass. That team's going nowhere, and I still wanted a massive, massive return. So this team looking pretty good just based on the wide receiver core is going to shift it even more towards the nah for me. I'm not doing that. I would try to move AJ. I mean, if you're looking to move a wideout, move AJ out of that group. Or Gordon. Jesus Christ, you got Gordon sitting there. Shit.
I think for me, I'd want close to 4 firsts if I'm going to move Brown. I don't need 5 firsts. I'm not doing it like Nuke, but 4 would be right about where I am. And, like I said, I could go a little bit lower than that, but generally, I agree with you, and I would definitely be trying to move AJ. That deal is closer to me for getting AJ sold than the other one is by a good bit.
I'd do that for AJ.
Yeah.
I love AJ Green, but I would. I think AJ, I mean, what do we got? A couple years. He's not Antonio Brown level production. There's no way.
It's not even the production. It's
and the age, and he's breaking down, and he's skinny as all hell. And the game he plays, I mean, you want to have a bigger body out there doing what he does. And Tyler Eifert's stealing all the damn red zone looks.
Because he's good.
Yeah, he's all right.
But I mean, absolutely. When you bring about how they play the game, it's the reason why Brown's going to outlast Dez and AJ and probably Julio too. And Brown's got 2 years on Julio. He's still probably going to outlast him. But it's the same reason Odell's probably going to last longer than, say, Mike Evans. Because Odell's game is not reliant on, having a big body. Because Mike Evans is going to get lit up over and over and over again, and it's going to build up. Look at Calvin. Calvin was the wide receiver of the NFL for a good chunk of the last 10 years. Him and Larry, and it all went to shit so quickly because, I mean, you just start breaking down. You can only get your ass whooped so many times before you just start falling apart. But
yeah.
I mean, like Tyler said, I'd be just fine with taking that to championship town. That's a good ass wide receiver core, and you can probably piece together something decent at the other positions. Quarterback, if you need a 1 year quarterback rental, there's probably not a better year to do it. And Tyler and I were talking about it. In the same way that you can't punt run quarterback as far as you used to be able to, because Rivers and Ben and Eli and all of them are getting older, it means they're all cheaper. Palmer, Brady, all of them are super cheap, and they're a great 1 year fill-in. Then you just got to worry about tight end. After the top, yeah, I'm not even going to talk about it.
Zach Ertz, baby. This team needs to have Zach Ertz on it. Go win some money.
I mean, if you're going to get Zach Ertz, you might as well just get a shot at penicillin and call it a day.
Oh, my God.
It's Zach Ertz is the diseased penis of fantasy football. And now at Glosser 13's question. Wondering your opinions on the drills or numbers you pay most attention to for the combine, if any, your strategy on when, if you Okay, sorry.
We got two separate questions here. I tried to break it down for you.
Well, you're not good with computers, so you fucked it up.
It looks fine. It's 2 different bullet points.
Yeah, but the bullet point starts part of the way to the second question.
What? You've been sabotaged.
Because you're an idiot.
You did that. I can clearly see your cursor there.
Yeah, because I just fixed it. Anyway, I hate you. Wondering your opinions on the drills or numbers you pay most attention to for the combine, if any. We talked about it earlier with the player breakdown. I pay a lot of attention to the catching drills, really just the skill position drills in general. Stuff like measurements, the hand size is important to me. Height and weight, getting official measurements on that is important. See if guys are just way too skinny. It's nice seeing if guys have put on weight and not lost speed. But really, for me, it's if I have a predetermined opinion about somebody, what their combine numbers are for the most part is not going to sway that opinion. I use it a lot as either verifying any bias I already had or using it to discover guys that I just didn't have my nose on at all. It's how we found Chris Conley last year. And I would have never looked at Conley's tape had he not had a good combine. And he ended up being a guy I wanted to invest a good amount in. So that's kind of how I look at the combine. The 40 is not the end all be all for me. the short shuttle, all of it is just. I'm sure it's to some degree it's a piece of the puzzle, but that piece itself is fairly small, and then how much of that piece each drill is fairly insignificant outside of, a couple of key measurements and how they look. And if it sounds like medically they're going to be okay, that's also another one that's important.
The 40's fun, man.
I didn't say it wasn't fun, but it's been part of my 40. Scouting process.
I know it. I mean, it's like, the 40, it just barely matters or whatever. But I love watching the 40. I like watching on defense. I like watching the linebackers run bags and, see how they track the ball. I like watching the edge guys see if they can bend, see if they can get almost parallel to the ground and maintain balance and get around the corner. I love watching the defensive individual drills. And on offense, the running backs, we're watching to see if they can track the ball, catch the ball. That's huge. But come on, man. The 40 is a slam dunk contest.
Dude, I love watching the O linemen run the 40. And you can see that last 10 minutes when the light starts leaving their eyes. They're like, I don't know how much farther I can go.
It's so good. I do love it. And they parade these poor guys out there, these tight little shirts, and it's so unflattering.
It's like everybody made fun of Jared Lorenzen when he played for the arena team with that skin tight jersey. But they're all wearing the same thing. Granted, they're not playing quarterback, but
the old lineman drills. I do kind of like watching the old lineman drills. I remember watching Eric Flowers last year. I was like, God Almighty, this dude's got, he doesn't even have 2 left feet. He's got a wooden peg leg. And I don't know what. I mean, the dude was just all over the place, but he ends up being a top 12 pick. So it shows what I know about offensive linemen. But the combine's just fun. And the combine is coming right now, and we're starting to get a little feverish.
Oh, I'm
going to have football in a few weeks.
I've got a rash.
Yeah. So it's just you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to watch the combine today. It's fun.
Oh, yeah. I mean, one of our buddies is actually going to the combine.
Going to the underwear Olympics.
I mean, I like these drills and everything as much as the next guy, but I don't know that seeing it live is going to really do a whole lot for me.
There are way worse ways to spend a day.
That's fair. I might have to go to work with Tyler one day.
Oh God, you don't want any part
Not
of
that. Even if I didn't have to do anything during the day.
Well, in that case, it would be entertaining. You would love it.
if I had to be a subordinate, even if I didn't have to do anything, if I just had to be under you all day, that's a bad day.
I would say probably so.
Tyler's grumpy.
Yeah, especially now that I'm not going to say that I've kicked. But I've been really cranky, man.
Yeah,
our boxing group can attest to that.
Yeah, we can. And now that we're back and unfrozen, let's hit up the second part of this question is your strategy for when, if you co-own a dynasty with someone, on how you go about strategy for the startup when co-owning. Now, we haven't done a co-owned startup. The co-own we did was an orphan team. We did a dispersal with it, which it's essentially the same idea. It's just extremely narrowed. Actually, it's not the same idea at all because the way I go
methodology.
True. I go about a dispersal way different than I go about a startup, but the way you plan should be the same way. You want to, figure out what guys you have common ground with in terms of, player evals, guys that are completely on a do not draft list for either of you. Discuss, especially how you feel about trading in and out of rounds. And really, I can't emphasize this enough. Don't go into just co-owning a team with some dude you've had 5 Twitter conversations with. You want to be in each other's heads. You want that guy. If say Tyler drops his phone in the toilet, I don't hear from him for 3 days. We're in the middle of a draft. I should be able to go in there and reasonably make picks that both of us would be okay with, and vice versa. If you don't think you can do that, if you think, you after 3 days, he'd come back and be like, what the hell did you do? Then don't do it. Don't go into co-owning that team. If you're thinking about doing it and you're not that point, spend another year hanging out. Get on Voxer. That's how you get to know some people. It's for better or for worse. But I feel like Twitter, there's almost a barrier to familiarity. Like, yeah, you can feel familiar enough, but there's always just that line of, I guess you're in public. And I guess I haven't had a lot of conversations through DM that last more than a few hours. But I think that's probably, I don't know. I'm starting to ramble again.
Yeah, I think you got it. You got it right. We kind of had a question about this a few weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. But so you got to have somebody that you know and you know very well that you can communicate with quickly. And like Drew said, if you can't communicate with quickly, one of you can be able to pull the trigger and not honks the team. That's the main thing. So, I mean, you hit it all pretty well. Drew and I are actually fixing to do, an auction startup
with Devi.
With Devi, IDP, Superflex. This ought to be interesting. I think it's going to be a blast.
My underpants are getting tight just thinking about it.
It's going to be an absolute blast. I'm really looking forward to it. I was kind of, because, man, I'm bad at auction, like really bad. And Drew is also equally really bad at auctions. So we're either going to come together and form this amazing auction team with a system of checks and balances, or we're just going to go spend all the money and then have shitty teams again. But either way, it'll be fun.
It's like it's either going to turn out really well or it's going to be like giving a 5-year-old a paint can without a lid on it and just watch them spin around the room.
Like, how did we end up with 80% of our auction budget left? It's over. What did we do?
How did it get on the ceiling?
It's going to be fun, man.
Oh, it's going to be a fucking train wreck.
But I feel like no matter what happens at the end of the draft, we'll still be simpatico. You know what I mean?
Oh, totally. I don't give a shit how bad we butcher it. Then we can just both laugh about how bad we butchered it. Aside from normally, like if we each own our own team, then I get to make fun of you.
Right.
You butcher it.
Like, boy, you paid up way too much for that guy. I'm like, yeah, no, it's what I do.
Instead, we get to commiserate.
Commiserate. I like it. All right. So we got another question in here. It's from our buddy FF Dynasty Dan. You guys have got to follow at FF Dynasty Dan. He's one of the new writers at DLF. Dude's hilarious. Also, pretty smart guy. First question, how many packages of cinnamon roll Oreos have I consumed? He set the over-under at 3.
I'm taking the over.
Man, I feel like, I don't know Dan really well, but I feel like I kind of know Dan. Those little sons of bitches are rich, dude. They're rich. I'm going under here.
The packages are smaller than you're giving them credit for.
Yeah, and that's
the reason I took the over.
Capitalism.
The reason I took the over is because personally I've hit the over, and he's the one that introduced us to him.
Wow. I'm taking the under. I think we're at 2 packages and some change. And I wouldn't even say 2.5.
Oh, I killed like a whole one yesterday.
Man, they're
almost a whole one. Well,
they're good. I like them, but it's wow. They are too decadent.
I will. We will stop this now.
The dunkability just isn't there.
You don't have to dunk.
It's a sub.
You know what?
It's an Oreo.
That's the thing that bothers me the most is I can't dunk them, but They are good as shit dry, which I would never say about a normal Oreo.
Yeah, normal Oreo without milk is. I mean, I might as well have like gravel in the pantry because I'm not eating it. I do like the cinnamon roll. I'm taking the under, and I'm taking the under with confidence. We'll see how that one turns out. Second part of the question. This one actually has to do with Dynasty Fantasy Football. It's weird. What would your draft strategy be going into a startup, but you didn't know the scoring format? This is Mr. Brian Malone at Jules Dynasty, who is an evil genius. I don't know the exact details on this startup he's running, but it's exactly this. They are just full on doing a startup, and they don't know the scoring setup. I'm not sure if they don't know the lineup settings. There's some weird shit going on here. So what would my strategy be? Same as always. Draft a bunch of wide receivers. I don't know. Why would Jules do this to people? And why would you sign up for this? What is wrong with you heathens?
Just like punishing themselves, I guess.
I mean, I'm into I will do some crazy shit with my dynasty teams and leagues, but this is bonkers.
No way. I agree with you. I'm loading up on wide receiver regardless of scoring format. But if you don't know lineup format, that's, first of all, horrifying. Like, absolutely terrifying. Second of all, I'm going to take quarterback earlier. I'll probably take it. I'll be more inclined to take a tight end than I would normally be. Other than that, just wide receivers. But watch, he's going to see everybody load up on wide receivers, and he's going to make it full point per carry, start 3 running backs, and you can flex all the other positions.
It's kind of cool. I don't want any part of it. I will be following this draft in this league because I'm very curious, but God, degenerates.
Like watching a car crash.
This is like some degenerate shit at the deepest level. Well, when you've got us going, ooh, that's crazy. That's crazy.
This is hardcore gamblers betting on the results of Russian roulette. That's what.
Like if it goes well, I don't die. I get to remain alive if everything goes perfectly. It's great. I love it.
That's so overboard. Our next one comes from Mr. Brady at B Hug. This year, some habitually injured players got through a full season. How does a full productive season from a guy who's been consistently injured in his career affect their value for us? Some guys from this year: Brian Cushing, Jordan Reed, Jonathan Stewart, Jeremy Maclin. If I believed in the talent before, I still believe in it. I'm still slightly hesitant. Reed would be pushing Eifert for my number 2 tight end spot, but he's had a bazillion concussions. Also, the type of injury to me is huge. Concussions make Reed a sketchy buy at best, because all he has to do is sneeze too hard one day and he's right back in the protocol. Whereas, Maclin has not consistently had the same issue. It's a football player problem. He gets injured. It doesn't make him injury prone. He just has had shittier luck than other guys. So for Maclin, not really. My value on him before wasn't based on injury, so it's not now based on injury. Granted, now my value on him has gone up because I severely underrated him going to Kansas City. I blew that one.
Yeah. He still looks like a Ninja Turtle. Looks exactly like a Ninja Turtle. I'm telling you.
That's fair. I'm pretty sure I said that he wasn't going to hit 1,000 yards this season.
I used the word shatter into a million pieces upon first contact with Jeremy Maclin. How about this year? We are deep into the season and J Stu's healthy and Macklin's healthy and Darren McFadden is healthy and toting the rock 20 times a game. It's a weird season.
Le'Veon Bell's on IR.
Mm.
And
Vontaze Burfict's kind of a piece of shit. And we knew that before, but that Le'Veon tackle, I mean, they're like, oh, he didn't. It was just a tackle. That was fucking dirty, dude. He used Le'Veon as like the pivot point for a full-on pendulum and just broke him down. Anyway, that angered me. But I'm about like Drew. You got to roll the injury history into your cost of acquisition, even if you're not, if it's not front and center, subconsciously, you know what's going on. You're like, this guy's always hurt. And maybe it's taboo to say he's injury prone, whatever. I don't really care. If a guy can consistently be hurt and not playing, maybe he's 80% and just doesn't want to play. Maybe he's a little pussy. There got to be plenty of guys like that. That was not PC of me.
Shit, I don't care. I think it's hilarious.
Anyway, yeah. So I mean, I'm going to roll it into the cost of acquisition, but like a guy like Reed, that worked out really well. He was amazing this year, and he missed time. But I guarantee you, even if somebody's ranking Jordan Reed at tight end 2, you are not going to get tight end 2 return for him on the trade market because they're going to be like, yeah, he's one knock on the head away from being, out of the league in a coma. So
just going to be rolling around in a wheelchair with drool going down.
It's just kind of the way it is. So I mean, do I change my value on him? Not really. It's great to see the productive year out of him, but like Drew, if I liked him before, I still like him. If not, whatever. Jeremy Maclin. I just don't like Jeremy Maclin. I don't want to talk about Jeremy Maclin. All right, so we got another question from our buddy Big Fat Bob. God, it's such a good Twitter handle, man.
Every time makes me laugh.
I love it. I'm joining a 12-team league with 60 roster spots. It's a startup, which I love that, right? Deep league. Full IDP starting 11 and 11 on both sides of the ball. I want to hold true to the UTH philosophy, but wondering when to take the first defensive player. Also, who are some young defensive ends who you would target in this type of format to let groom? The UTH philosophy. I assume that most of our listeners, people who listen to the show, know what the UTH philosophy is. UTH philosophy is paying a lot of attention to long-term dynasty values and being able to manipulate the market as such because the young players hold value longer. And it also involves a lot of risk too, because you're going to be paying high prices. You don't want to pay full price, but you're be paying high price for unproven talent. As far as defense goes, if I'm really coming in and like punting hard, year 1, maybe even year 2, I'm not going to focus a whole lot on defense at all. I might spend one of my first 15 picks on defense, and that's a value just whacks me right over the head. So, I'm just going to kind of play the field there. I'm going to snag up a lot of rookie linebackers where I'm looking at a situation like, let's take Kansas City, where Derek Johnson's old. And you got DJ Alexander and Ramik Wilson sitting there. Those are the kind of guys I'm going to snag in like the 30s and 40 rounds, something like that. Just throw gobs and gobs of guys in there. Shaq Thompsons who are going to slide because they're buried on the depth chart because I don't care about winning right away. Second part of the question, defensive end. There's one name that pops into my head, Donnell Hunter. That's the name that popped right into my head as soon as I read the question. Athletic freak, super young. You're going to get him pretty cheap. Owa. I don't even know how to say his name. Owa Abuza Digawoo.
I used to know how to say this. Digizua?
Digizua. Whatever. If it is that, it's cool.
What a name.
Yeah, that's a mouthful. DeMarcus Lawrence going to cost you a little more. Really nice player. Randy Gregory, Dante Fowler.
That's
they're probably going to be
going to mind for me.
And they're going to be going a little bit earlier than I'm going to want to pull the trigger. And a lot of it's going to depend on scoring, but I'm just going to throw a lot of darts at it. I'm going to spend nothing or little to nothing on defensive backs, even if I'm starting 4. I'm not going to spend a whole lot if I'm coming out of the gate punting because you can patch that in year to year. So pound offense, pound it until it is absolutely dry. And if you're sitting there in round X and you're like, man, I like this offensive player and I like this defensive player. And if it's close at all, go offense, because you're going to be able to replace the defensive talent when you start to get into your win now window. And even if you're looking at defensive talent through trades, it's cheaper.
Absolutely.
So that's how I attack it.
I'm fairly close to that same philosophy. If I'm going full UTH for startup, I don't care about defensive players at all. It's completely a value-based approach. I want draft picks. I want offensive players. I want young offensive players that are gonna gain value. If you're spending even a top 15 startup pick on a defensive player, even if they're young and unproven, what are they going to go up to? 8th round startup pick? The ceiling for value is fairly low. So I'm not touching them until just offense is completely picked clean. I do disagree slightly with DB about completely ignoring it. I think the way I'd approach doing DB is look at the guys that are still really young. Jonathan Cyprian's a great example where he's scored very well in the past, but for whatever reason, the IDP market is extremely reactionary and they have extremely short-term memories. So, if a guy 2 years ago might have been a top 3, 4, or 5 defensive back, and now you can get him as the 20th. If they're still young, there's no reason not to snag that up. Even if you're taking a DB earlier than you would have initially planned, you might be able to get Vaccaro late. Whoever. I don't have a ton of examples off the top of my head. Defensive ends, you nailed them. That's pretty much all of them. Ely's another good one.
Ely's going to be so overdrafted this year. I can almost guarantee it. I can almost guarantee that Ely is going to be overdrafted. Sorry, that's been on my mind.
No, that's fine. He may very well be. I have not tracked Ely's value recently because I don't own any shares of him.
Well, it's going to be fresh on the mind because he played well in the Super Bowl.
It's crazy because I liked Ely coming out and then I didn't get him anywhere.
I like Ely. But bottom line is he played 20 snaps in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Come on.
He looked good on what he did, but
damn straight, he's a damn good player. He's a good buy, but I bet you anything he's going to go in the top 20 defensive dino linemen this year.
He's if you can get him at a fair price, he's going to go up in value because Charles Johnson and Jared Allen are not exactly what I would call young.
Right.
They've already put out the leases to get their little rascal scooters to go around the practice field on, which I would kill to watch Jared Allen race someone with a rascal scooter. I think that would be pretty funny.
I kind of want a rascal scooter. I think it'd be a good buy.
I've had the same thought, but then I'm like, I'm right there at that line where I can still say, even though I eat like garbage, I'm not just this huge fat pig. And I go in Walmart and I see those people and I'm like, if I had a rascal, I could totally be them.
Just load up the cart just go down the candy aisle and just arm sweep it all into your cart.
No, man. I do it like I used to do the security for Walmart. I used to follow these people around, and they just eat food. Just eat it in the Walmart and leave it. I'm in my rascal scooter. I don't have leg time I got to worry about. The guy following me, he's eventually going to get tired. I just got to keep rolling my fat ass around the store.
Just gotta hope the battery doesn't die. Oh man! So we went from defensive linemen to rascal scooters. That's why you're here, folks. That's why you're here.
I don't know why. I don't know what that did for any of y'all's lives, but
jeez.
All right, our next one comes from Dynasty Fife at Fife 1919, and he wants some combine talk, and we've already touched on the combine a decent amount. He says, what guys are you excited to see? What guys have the most to lose / gain? Corey Coleman could lose a ton. if his 40 ends up being garbage, or if any of his measurements just show him to be a turd, because that's part of his like appeal is he's supposed to be this athletic freak because he's only okay at football. Treadwell's, there's already starting to be some murmurs with people being apprehensive about Treadwell. John Moore put out an article today where comparables for Treadwell if he runs slow. I think Boyd could solidify himself at the top of the wide receiver market with a good combine because a lot of people are projecting him to be unathletic, which I don't see it. I think he could end up putting up a pretty respectable combine. I'm not talking about he's going to go torch and run a 4.3, but if he runs even good numbers, that's going to solidify a lot of people's opinions on him. Really, anybody that runs slow that people didn't expect to could kill him. And the other guys that have the most to gain are the guys that no one's ever heard of, and they're going to go fast. Unless you're J.J. Nelson and you weigh like J.J. Nelson weighs like a dog and a fat baby.
He's like a little pocket person. He's like you just carry him around in your pocket all day.
He sure does run fast though.
You know who's gonna rise the most after the combine? Fuller. Fuller's gonna dust. He's gonna dust the combine, and in the individual drills, he's gonna get so wide open because that's what he does. I think Fuller's gonna blow the combine up, and I think Coleman's gonna run really fast too. On the defensive side, when Reggie Ragland goes out and drops a 4.9. Because that's what he's gonna do. You're gonna the level. He's a great football player. I mean, he's such a good football player, but he's so slow.
Buckner's gonna have that O-line tunnel vision look we were talking about earlier. That's gonna happen.
Like, dear Lord, make it end. Yeah,
I'm not gonna make it.
Yeah, so on the defensive side, that's one guy I'm ready to watch. I'm ready to watch Darren Lee. I think Darren Lee is going to go bonkers at the combine. It looks like Miles Jack is not going to be 100%, still coming off the knee injury. Jalen obviously isn't going to do anything, so it's going to be the Darren Lee show for the linebackers.
I'm interested to see how Bosa measures out.
Kind of him too.
Bosa's it's not really going
to. I think Bosa's just more of a bully. He's just a bully. He just whips blockers. So I mean, I don't know how he's going to measure out athletically, but I don't think it matters.
That's what I was going to say.
He's such a good football player. I don't think it really, unless he goes and benches 225 like 4 times.
I wouldn't scare him still.
It's something crazy like that. That's the only thing that's going to cool him off.
No. If he benches 225 4 times, that tells me on that 4th push he pooped himself and he's getting up to leave. But seriously, I don't think if he does bad, it's not going to hurt my evaluation of him. But I would love to see him just wreck house and just torch all these drills. I think that'd be cool to watch. Yeah. Scooby Wright could gain a ton of value too. I love Scooby Wright.
Yeah, Scooby. Draft Twitter does not like Scooby.
Fuck him.
There's always a handful of guys every year that they don't like, but I mean, they love Reggie Ragland. And I'm kind of like, I don't know that I'm not going to say I like Scooby better, but if we're talking fantasy,
I'm definitely picking Scooby.
I'm going to like Scooby a lot better 3-4 rounds in a rookie draft after Reggie Ragland.
I think I might like Scooby over Ragland just as an NFL linebacker.
I don't know.
Crazy, but
I need to watch a little more. But yeah, like I said, Ragland's going to drop a 4.9, and everybody's going to go, whoa, because he can't cover in space, and all these other guys can. Anyway, all right. Next question from @FantasyFootballWiz, Darnell, our boy Darnell. He wants values on Devontae Freeman, Nelson Aguilar, and Jordan Reed. Devontae Freeman, we talked about David Johnson earlier. Let's just call. Devontae Freeman, David Johnson from our conversation earlier, and that's what Devontae Freeman is. His value is too damn high. I would love to get a piece of him on my team at RB15. Ain't gonna happen.
I had a guy, actually in a league you and I are in together, offer me Freeman for Ingram and some change, and I replied back, I'm like, I'd just rather have Ingram.
I got the same offer for Yeldon and some change. So and I was like, nah, I need change coming the other way, and I need it to be a little bit bigger change.
Yeah, we've never been vocal supporters of Freeman.
It's personal at this point. I mean, hell, he could be the second coming right now, and I'm like, nope, didn't like him. I'm right. Everybody else is wrong. That's how we roll.
See, and I was willing to go back and say, like, okay, I missed something because I've made the mistake in the past. I did it with Bell. I did it with Brown. And I went back and watched him, and I'm like, no, he's still the same turd. He's just the same turd with blockers.
With 73 catches.
And no Tevin Coleman. Coleman's going to come back. I didn't like Coleman either, but he's going to suck all the value out of that position.
Yeah, it could be a full-blown timeshare or a full-blown Tevin Coleman just takes over.
I'd be willing to pay like a late first, like maybe 108 for Freeman.
Man, if that came in my inbox, I'd be like, well, the value's good, but nah.
I don't know that I could do it, but that's where it sounds like it's okay for in my head.
Yeah. All right, so Aguilar. You take Aguilar, man. I don't know. I know what I just paid for him, and I was pretty cool with it.
In my heart of hearts, I'm still taking him like probably that same 107, 108. That's too high. It's too high. Where he's reasonably going, high second, maybe mid-second. And I'm guessing you paid mid-second for him. That's why you're stoked. But at this point, if it's outside of the top 6 first-round picks, I'm probably still picking Aguilar because he can't unbreak my heart.
He's a good football player, man. I played mid-second plus.
I don't care what plus is.
206 plus Charles Sims for Aguilar. And a best ball. And I wouldn't even say I'm stoked about it, but really, I need to see the numbers. I know he took a lot of snaps, but what were the targets there? I don't know. I really need to look at this.
I'll be completely honest. I don't have a PFF subscription. I have no idea how he scored. If somebody's got a PFF subscription, wants to tell me how Nelson Aguilar did, I would greatly appreciate that.
I would love to know. But
because
what's his value on the market right now? Probably about 204, 02, something like that.
That sounds about right.
I'm pretty cool with that. If I'm sitting in a rookie draft here in a couple months on the clock, there's a good chance I'm dealing that pick for Nelson Aguilar. I mean, he was what, 17th overall pick in the draft?
Something like that.
Caught 100,000 balls at USC. Polished, twitchy. I mean, that dude can ratchet it up on some routes, man.
I went back and watched his USC stuff to see if, I was just, I don't know, having some kind of draft lust. I still like it. So
clean. He's so clean.
Oh,
it's Bradford, man. Let's just call this what it is. Let's just call it what it is.
You know what? I noticed I was talking to somebody else. I think it might have been Fife, where he went back and watched 2014 Cooper or 2014 Boyd, and he said the things you like about Cooper are kind of the same things you like about Boyd. Boyd's not quite Cooper, but the similarities are there. But Aguilar did a lot of the things that Cooper did, just he wasn't on Cooper's level. He didn't have the athleticism. Maybe that's my common trend. I liked Aguilar. I love Boyd. If Boyd blows up, y'all don't listen to me anymore. Apparently,
die on a hill. I mean, you get your guys. You go for your guys. That's why we do what we do. If we're just doing robotic, go by somebody's rankings, drafting. What fun is that?
And the reason I haven't quit is I've had a fairly good success rate, but then I have ones where I'm just all in on a guy and it fucking bombs.
Cody Latimer.
Devontae Adams.
Woo. I got a couple. Boy, I got a lot of Jalen Strong in my life, man. A lot. So love Jalen Strong.
I'm so glad Mike Floyd started that bounce back.
Yeah, that's huge. I had actually dumped a lot of Floyd shares. I think I'm down to just a couple.
You want to know a name that's going to bring back some heartbreak?
Don't.
Cordarrelle Patterson.
I took him ahead of Mike Evans in a 14 startup. Womp. Womp. It's a return yard league too, though. So yeah, there you go. That's smart, dumbass. Anyway, Jordan Reed. I don't know, dude. If you got Jordan Reed on your roster, you're probably going to have him on your roster come week 1.
Keep him.
Good luck finding a buyer. His value, what his actual value is never going to match the trade market. So, great player when he's healthy and in your lineup. Big time difference maker. Jordan Reed won leagues this year, especially championship week. That Saturday night where he just went ham, but he did it all year. And Jordan Reed was awesome. So, real nice guy to have on your team. If you can get a good return on him, yeah, go for it. But good luck getting it.
If I'm competing, I'd be willing to go out and pay, I don't know, a late first for Reed, any second. If I'm selling Reed, if I'm not competing, I'll take an early second. Outside of that, I'm just going to hold and, maybe I'll turn into a competitor just randomly.
Just hope for the best. Hope for the best for him that he stays healthy. He's dynamic. And if he didn't
but I mean, you at a certain point you got to think he's got to be forgetting people's names and shit.
Yeah, I mean, you said earlier if Reed didn't have the concussion issues, he'd be pushing Eifert for year 2. Man, he would have Eifert dogged out. This would be a Gurley Bell situation where it's Gronk and Reed and then everybody else. He's that good and he's that productive when he's on the field. It's not even close. So love the guy and hope for his sake that he, doesn't take another knock on the head, but it's kind of impossible not to, right?
I don't know. Maybe he'll get lucky. We'll see. And our next one comes from Pat at RavageFF. And he actually has a good question, which I was surprised about. How much of a gap do you see between Gurley, Zeke, and would landing spot change your opinion? And then he said, stay woke, which Tyler tells me is supposed to be some sort of young people talk. I'm technically a young people. I have no idea what the fuck it means, so I don't know. Maybe he's telling us to drink another Monster and stay awake.
More energy drinks, as Pat is one to try to force his energy drink propaganda down your throat. Pat loves sugary energy beverages.
But for me, the Zeke may be my 3, kind of, unless he lands in a shitty situation. The gap from Gurley to Zeke is bigger than the gap from Zeke to David Johnson, Hyde, Yeldon, whoever's my next one, depending on the day. Zeke could land in Dallas, and every other running back could get syphilis and die. The gap is still, maybe it's even from 2 to 3 and 3 to 4. I love Zeke. Zeke is good. Zeke is not on Gurley's level. Zeke is a microcosm of what Gurley is good at. It's everything toned down. But that's not a bad thing. Gurley's the number 2 running back. He's fucking good.
He's so good.
He's so good.
Yeah, I think you're about right. Ben Natan, one of the he was with the Football Savages, one of the guys we follow on Twitter. He is all about Zeke, and if I'm not mistaken, he said something the other day that he thinks Zeke and Gurley are really close together, and he's a really good evaluator from what I can see. It's Gurley though, man. My God, Todd Gurley is good. But Zeke is the complete package, man. He does it all. He runs routes. He pass blocks. He runs hard. He runs outside. He runs inside. He has great vision. This is a hell of a football player. If I could turn Gurley into a 101 and a couple other nice pieces and take Zeke with that 101, I'd do it. But as far as in value, they'd probably be 3-4 startup rounds apart for me. Is that about right? No, that's not right.
Gurley.
It's the running back thing, man. I can't wrap my head around it.
Gurley's technically a first-round startup pick. Early second round, maybe. And Zeke, if you chalk Zeke as the 101, maybe 102 this year, because for most people, it's going to be the 101. The 101 has traditionally been like a mid-second round startup pick. You know, it's granted we're starting to get more valuable pieces at the top end, so let's call it a late second round, maybe early third. The gap is maybe around and some change.
Yeah, I was way off. It's a running back thing. But still, I mean, there's a pretty good difference there.
I'm talking about where the ADP is, you know, what the consensus is going to look like. For us, the gap is going to be larger. You know, I'm not taking Zeke, you know, with a third round startup pick when for some
ridiculous reason.
Exactly. For some ridiculous reason, Cooks is still available. I actually almost said ridiculous without having to say it.
We're getting better, folks.
Except for dropping the F-bomb. We are still super bad at that.
Well, that's just everyday language.
Oh, well.
Yeah. What are you
I'll worry about it another day. I'll worry about it tomorrow. I'll tell myself tomorrow.
There you go.
I'll worry about it tomorrow. But with that, let's we
got one more question here, right? Yeah, just one more. All right. This is from @FantasyFollow1 on Twitter, which is a fantastic follow, by the way. Because I feel like I can get all the news I need to hear in the day just from his timeline.
And it's great. Absolutely, like if I was going to make a short list of just overall fantasy profiles to follow, not like follow Ryan McDowell because he's smart, or follow Chad, Doug, whatever, or follow any of the big guys. It's just such a useful follow. It's got probably the most utility out of any of the guys I follow. Like, I get way more enjoyment out of probably tweeting guys that I bullshit with, but I've probably realized shit was happening that I wouldn't have otherwise if it wasn't for his account.
Just by following his time. And he's a good dude, too. You interact with him, he's a good dude, knows his shit. Anyway, he's a solid follow. Anyhow, he's got a two-part question. Where would we place Rashad Perryman in this year's class of receivers? Shit.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. There could be people out there tell you like 103, second best receiver, first best receiver in the class.
But those were the same people taking him at 104 last year, so.
I don't know, man. I don't even – 5th, 4th, 9th, 11th? I don't know. I don't like him.
I don't either. He's probably like my 8th wide receiver.
I feel like, as I was telling you, I feel like I should have at least a share or two of Rashad Perryman. I'm in 22 damn leagues. There's no reason I shouldn't have at least one share of him.
And I told him I'm in 20, and I don't give a shit. Just like I didn't care with Calvin Benjamin, there's certain guys I take a hard stance on. I don't care. I say, you know what? If they do succeed, if they do blow up, I will take my licks. But I am thoroughly convinced enough that he is going to not succeed, that why waste any capital in any of my leagues? I would literally be betting against myself, and it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, that's fair. I get that.
But from a diversification standpoint, I definitely see your argument for it. Yeah. I'm too cocky, or whatever the right word for it is.
Oh, it's definitely cocky. Yeah.
It's like cocky with some mix of something else where I believe my own hype so well at analyzing some of these guys that I refuse to go outside of it.
It gets personal.
Exactly.
It gets real personal. Yeah, I know what you mean. Second part of the question, Doxson or Coleman, who you got and why? I'm going to say based on my own personal evaluation, it's Doxson, and it's not particularly close. But there are a lot of people that I really respect that really like Corey Coleman, so there's something there. The effort plays are so hard to get by because they snap the ball and he just stands there. I've even seen him turn around the other direction and stare off at the sky, and it is just horrifying. But then you read the stories that that's what they are coached to do. That Bryles, in his infinite wisdom, God, I can't stand that guy, tells the receivers, if you're not in the play or if you're on the backside, don't block, don't run a route, don't do anything. So how much of it is that's what they're coached to do, and how much of it is that Corey Coleman's a lazy turd? I don't know. Doxson, if Doxson was 21 years old, he'd be the wide receiver 1 in this class. If he had his skill level that he has right now and he wasn't 24 years old, I don't think it'd be particularly close. Doxson's smooth, tracks the ball really well, great hands, high points it, does a lot of things that you really like, and this receiver class isn't great. So feet to the fire, I'm going to take Doxson right now, but I got to find a way to get a unbiased evaluation on Corey Coleman.
Yes, we totally expect you to have an unbiased opinion on the lazy Baylor wide receiver.
Playing for the coach that I detest.
Totally a reasonable expectation.
I'm trying here. I can't do Shepard. That'll never happen. But I can do Coleman.
You know what? For me, it has nothing to do with Baylor. It has everything to do with just watching him. And even if, say that the whole tells him to take plays thing off is accurate, one, that's not instilling good work ethic in them, which is going to be hard to break. I mean, look at Kendall Wright. He was probably going to be pretty good, but he was late. You know, he got screwed up. And I probably just made that part up. But he's not going to have stamina. You know, if he's not used to running route after route after route, if he's used to taking breaks in between, he's going to be on the field for, 50% of snaps or whatever. That's going to limit fantasy opportunities. And just based on the skill set, on when he actually did run routes, he didn't have a particularly refined route tree. He didn't really do all that much for me. Yeah, he makes some really nice splash plays, and he's got some nice athleticism, but it just doesn't excite me. Whereas Doxson, I mean, Tyler said it all with Doxson. If he was younger, he'd be fighting with Boyd for my top spot. He is good. From the first time we watched him, I didn't have any idea who he was in like the first month or two of the season. Tyler's like, we need to watch this guy. I'm like, okay, why not? His name's close to mine. Sounds like a good idea. And one game in, I'm like, all right, okay, I can see it. And by the end of 3 or 4 games, I'm like, okay, can I just take him like 101 now? Tyler's like, he's 24. Motherfucker.
Oh, by the way, he's on an applesauce diet.
I still think he's going to be in my top 2 or 3 wide receivers regardless.
He's super sexy, man.
I would rather just take the old man and get the decreased usage. See, he's not winning with the overt athleticism, so he's going to be able to play a little bit later so that, I can pretend he's a little bit younger or whatever. Granted,
or just realize that 24, other than taking into account breakout age and
that's what I was about to say.
Metrics, I wish to God I was 24. When I was 24, dude, yeah, the world was my oyster. I was a young man. You're 24 and you're broken.
I'm 25, but I was a broke dick at 24 too.
There you go. But I was saying that's a young guy. So I mean, we get really caught up, and I need 10 years of production out of a guy. What's wrong with 4 or 5 years? 4 or 5 years is a long ass time.
Oh, yeah.
Long time. So if you're just drafting him just to put him on your team to go win games, then go for it. He's a good player, man. He made Trevon Boykin look all world. Trevon Boykin is not all world.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I live here in the town of the Horned Frogs, with their giant fan base that can't fill their own stadium when they're ranked number 2 in the country. But anyway, I've seen a little bit of them.
Dude, our coach here chewed ass when our stadium wasn't filled for like a bunk ass game, some lowly division or Conference USA team, and we weren't ranked. We weren't anything. We were just trying to win our division. And He was like in the media, in the interviews, he's chewing ass like, "Hey, we're putting our effort out here. Why don't y'all show the fuck up?"
Good for him.
Yeah, it's the guy that went to Tampa Bay, which sucks. I loved him as a coach. And it's part of the reason why I'm so optimistic about Tampa Bay, maybe because I'm completely unbiased about my opinion on him as a coach.
It's so fun, though. I mean, if
you say you're completely unbiased, you're a fucking liar.
You are not being true to yourself.
You are a liar, or you are so blindly oblivious to what is going on that we should not trust your opinion.
Like if you don't have Twix in your top 5 candy bar, we don't trust your opinion. It's the same kind of deal.
We can't go into that right now. We're already at like an hour and a half.
Well,
maybe.
we got to cut that one off.
If we get into ranked candy bars, this will be a 3-hour show. We'll double the length.
Maybe next week we'll get some candy power rankings going.
Maybe we'll do 3 shows next week. We'll do an IDP playbook, a Dynasty playbook, and a candy playbook.
A candy playbook. I like that. I got a feeling that people would rather hear our candy takes than our football takes.
I'm not altogether disagreeing with you. I don't feel like we break any particularly big ground with Dynasty. I feel like we do a decent job, but I feel like people are coming here for the sweet talk.
Well, yeah, I mean we have carved out our niche, and what a pathetic little fat boy niche it is.
Oh, every time I look at my man boobs, I think, well, at least somebody's supporting this.
I got your back, bro.
That's right.
All right, rant for me. We have an inspired rant.
I was asked to rant about something today, and it's from at Fife 1919 Dynasty Fife. He wants me to what's the exact wording on this? It's pretty good. He wants me to rant on why draft Twitter is hesitant of jumping on the Boyd train with him. With me, I guess. And
there are several others.
I'm not alone. I am absolutely not alone. There are some guys that are standing strong with me. There are not nearly enough of them. And I think there will be more once people realize that Treadwell is slow and he's not even the best receiver to come out of Ole Miss in the last few years. And I was saying that before John article today.
You were. We were all waiting for the John Moore article because there's a lot of voices I respect, but boy, when John Moore puts something out, my ears really perk up.
But I lost my train of thought now. People are losing their fucking minds over Corey Coleman, and even if the whole taking a playoff thing is legit, and you just look at every time he runs a route, sure, he's athletic, but he can't catch a ball like Boyd can. He can't run a route like Boyd can. He doesn't have body control like Boyd does. He doesn't track the ball like Boyd does. He doesn't do any of the other shit as good as Boyd does. Michael Thomas. I like Michael Thomas. I like Michael Thomas just fine. If people want to push Boyd with him, I don't agree with it, but I can see where you're coming from. If you emphasize different things in scouting than I do, I can see the argument for Michael Thomas. If you're going after Treadwell, It's because you like jump plays. And I'm being a little facetious right now, but I've not ever been as high as the consensus on Treadwell. And this is not a very good rant because I'm not all worked up about it, because all of these players, except for Corey Coleman's badass, they all have redeeming features. They all deserve to be in the top half of the first round. It's just Boyd is the best one. Period. Sorry I wasn't more worked up, but if you like Corey Coleman as your number one, get your shit together, dog. That ain't it.
It's gonna be. You'll get worked up plenty over Tyler Boyd as this process continues. I have no doubt about that.
Oh, it's gonna make my Cook's love look. It'll probably max my Cook's love. I don't know.
Well, because now, I mean, you're planting that flag and you're planting it deeper and deeper and deeper, and now there's no looking back. Now you're all in.
I planted this fucking flag before the season started last year.
You did. I remember. You're all about, stickman Tyler Boyd, who weighs 140 pounds. You love
granted, he did not do me any favors with this 2015 season.
No.
But
that offense was. I mean, come on, man. That offense was a mess. It was a mess, and they were doing that thing where they're doing everything they can to get him the ball, and he's getting the ball in situations where he's just not going to succeed. I mean, Randy Moss wasn't going to succeed in a lot of those situations. So, yeah, I get where you're coming from. We forgot to mention the coach again. Now we're at the very, very end of the show. ffcouchcoach.com. Check it out. Awesome writers. You can find the podcast. You can listen to it directly from the site. Also submit questions for the show via ffcouchcoach.com. So we do appreciate that very much. And we appreciate all the work the coach is doing for us. He's awesome. Great guy.
Also, if you guys have any other questions for the show, feel free. Send them to us in a direct message. Either send them to me at DrewDotsonFL, send them to Tyler at HBombIDP, or send them to the podcast's Twitter at Dynasty Playbook. All three of them will get it. We'll save it and put it up for the next week. But really, just any way you want to get in contact with us. If you want to email, it's dynastyplaybook@yahoo.com. I don't know how else people get in touch with each other. If you have my cell phone number, try it that
Carrier
way.
pigeon, smoke signal.
If pigeons start landing on my porch, they're getting shot. I don't care if they have a message for me or not. I don't mess with pigeons. They're dirty. They
are really filthy. They are really filthy animals.
They're gross. I mean,
so let's just smoke signals sufficient.
Smoke signals. Voxer. If you can find me on Voxer, if you want to add me on Voxer, let me know. That's another good way to get in touch with us.
I love Voxer.
Oh, it has ruined my life.
It is so much fun, and the more hostile it is, the better it is.
I screamed at Pat today in the highest pitched voice you've ever heard. Yeah. Really kind of horrifying to look back on.
It was really bad, and everyone started, and it's going to be forwarded for years to come. Will forever live in infamy. I love it. Yeah, if you're not doing Voxer, you're doing it wrong, man. If you're not a Voxer with your Dynasty buddies, you're not doing it right. Yeah,
it took it to a whole nother level for us when we did it.
Yeah, it's great. And, you don't have to be as guarded. You know what I mean?
Just let it all hang out.
You can go out. Yeah, you can go off the rails.
Kind of like we do.
Jeez.
But I think we're gonna call it a night before it just goes completely out of control. You got any last parting shots for us, bud?
Nope. I think we got it all.
All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. Again, we having more and more listeners, more and more success every week. And I mean, it's all thanks to you guys. If you really like the show, give us a rating and a review on iTunes. It's a good way to help more people see the show. And just thanks in general for listening. I mean, If we were doing this by ourselves, it would just be empty air. And that's going to be it. It's been the Dynasty Playbook. You can find me on Twitter at Drew Dotson NFL. And you can find my excellent co-host Tyler on Twitter at HBombIDP. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week.